Welcome back to Research Review Radio. Today we're going on another deep dive, this time into the world of Rajasthani folk media.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at this research paper, and it's called An Empirical Study of the Role and Significance of Folk Media in Rajasthan.
Catchy title.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's by Dr. Aditi Pareek, who's an assistant professor at the ISIS University in Jaipur.
Very cool.
Now, I know what you might be thinking.
What am I thinking?
A research paper. Is this going to be a little bit dry? But trust me,
Okay.
it is anything but. We're talking vibrant dances, captivating music, intricate storytelling.
Oh, wow.
And all of these art forms are being used to tackle big issues.
Yeah, like what kind of issues?
Things like illiteracy and social evils.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and what's really captivating about this paper is that it doesn't just describe the beauty of Rajasthan's folk traditions.
Yeah.
It really digs deep into how these traditions function as communication tools, as education tools, especially in rural communities.
Oh, it's like more than just entertainment.
Exactly. Imagine this. Using the energy of a dance or the melody of a song to address sensitive topics and inspire positive change.
That's pretty powerful.
It really is, right? So, to set the stage, let's picture the vast, colorful landscape of Rajasthan.
Okay.
The paper highlights how the challenging desert environment has actually shaped the themes that we find in Rajasthani music.
How so?
Think about it. The themes of love, hardship, and daily life are woven into the very fabric of the music.
That's pretty amazing. So they're reflecting their lived experience in the music.
Exactly. It's a beautiful example of how art comes from the heart of a community's experiences, which in turn makes it instantly relatable to the people it's meant to reach.
Makes sense.
Now, speaking of relatable, the paper emphasizes the variety of Rajasthani folk music.
Oh, there's a lot.
There is. We're talking everything from the haunting melodies of the sarangi, which is this incredible bowed string instrument,
Oh, yeah?
to super powerful vocals that honestly they can send shivers down your spine. Yeah, it's really incredible. And it's not just about entertainment either.
Right.
Devotional songs also play a huge role in this music, which reflects, the spiritual side of life in the region.
It's like a blend of entertainment and spirituality.
Exactly.
That's really cool. I love that. It's not just a performance. It's like an experience. It touches on every aspect of human life.
Right.
Celebration to solace.
Yeah.
And I bet it fosters this sense of shared identity, too.
You're right. Exactly.
I love that.
So before we jump into some of the amazing examples of this folk media that the paper talks about, let's do a little bit of a quick detour into the academic side of things, just to get a little bit of grounding.
Okay.
So the paper dives into some formal definitions of folk media.
Right.
Just to give us a solid foundation for our conversation.
Okay.
So it cites scholars like Aditi, who defines folk media as
How does he define it?
information transference media that can effectively communicate with rural communities. And then Bittner, another scholar,
Okay.
he emphasizes the dynamic exchange of information through verbal and written symbols.
Okay, so it's about more than just like passive entertainment.
Exactly.
It's about this back and forth, this sharing of ideas and stories and traditions.
Yeah, it's about building connections and having a dialogue with the community.
And that's where I bet the paper's argument comes in.
You got it.
It's a powerful tool for social change.
Right. It's not just fun and games.
Right.
The paper really emphasizes how folk media can tackle these complex issues like illiteracy, social evils, harmful misconceptions.
Wow.
And it does this by connecting with people on an emotional level.
So not by lecturing at them, but meeting them where they are.
Exactly. It's like education disguised as entertainment, right?
I love that.
So to bring this all to life,
Yes.
let's jump into some vivid examples of Rajasthan's folk forms. Get ready for a whirlwind tour. Okay, so the paper describes this incredible dance called Ghumar. It's a traditional women's dance
Oh, cool.
that's performed on special occasions. So picture this. A group of women, they're gracefully moving in circles, and their colorful swirling skirts are creating this mesmerizing spectacle.
Oh, wow. I can just imagine it.
You can, right?
Yeah.
It's not just beautiful to watch, though.
Right.
It's steeped in cultural significance.
I bet.
It's a powerful symbol of femininity and community, and it's been passed down through generations.
Wow. So witnessing it is like experiencing a piece of living history.
It really is. Then we have the Kachigodi, which translates to dummy horse.
Dummy horse, okay.
So you can already imagine what that looks like.
I can kind of picture it.
Men dressed in elaborate costumes, riding these, intricately decorated dummy horses.
That sounds like a really amazing visual.
It is, and it's more than just visual, too.
Right.
The Kachigodi performances often incorporate storytelling.
Oh.
They depict tales of local heroes and bandits. So it's this really captivating blend of theater, dance, and history.
I love that.
It's all rolled into one. And then this one's for you if you're looking for something truly breathtaking.
Right.
The paper describes the fire dance of the Jesnathis.
Fire dance.
These performers are known for their intense spirituality.
Okay.
And their dances involve, get this, jumping on live coals and embers.
Wow. That sounds intense.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
It's a display of skill and devotion. And it's such a powerful example of how folk media can connect with the spiritual realm.
It sounds almost trance-like.
It is, and it creates that atmosphere for everyone who's present, right? All right, now let's move on to music.
Okay.
The paper highlights all the unique instruments used in Rajasthani folk music.
Okay, like what?
Like the Rawana Hatha.
Rawana Hatha.
It's a 2-string instrument believed to be one of the oldest in the world.
Wow, one of the oldest.
Yeah, can you believe that? Roots stretching back centuries.
That's wild. What else is there?
There's also the dole, which is this large drum that provides the rhythmic backbone for a lot of folk performances.
Okay.
And then you can't forget about the matas. They're large clay pots that are used as percussion instruments, creating this deep, resonant sound.
So they use whatever they have on hand then?
They do, right. What's fascinating is a lot of these instruments are handmade.
Wow.
Which reflects the deep connection between the artists and their craft.
Yeah, it's not just playing music. It's about preserving those traditions and skills that have been passed down.
Exactly. It's like each instrument holds a piece of history in its very construction.
That's beautiful.
Then you have the musical communities themselves, like the Manganyars and Langas, who are known for their distinct musical styles and incredible vocal abilities.
Amazing.
These are families who have dedicated their lives to preserving and performing these traditions.
Wow, that's incredible. It's a testament to how important this is to them.
It really is.
To keep that cultural heritage alive.
It's ensuring that these art forms don't just fade away, but that they continue to thrive.
Absolutely.
Now, last but not least, we have storytelling.
Oh, cool.
The paper describes the fad.
The fad.
Which is this painted scroll that depicts the life of the folk hero Babuji.
Oh.
So imagine this long, colorful canvas, and it's unfurling to reveal these intricate scenes from a legendary tale.
So it's like visual storytelling.
It is.
And they put such care into it. They consider these secret.
They do. They're venerated by the communities who commission them.
It's really amazing how art can hold that deep spiritual meaning.
It really is. And to bring these stories to life, you have the bopas.
The bopa.
They're like singing priests who travel from village to village, narrating the tales depicted on the fad.
Oh, so cool.
Or like walk-in, talk-in storybooks.
I love that.
Bringing these painted figures to life with their, their captivating performances.
Oh, it's amazing how it blends all these different art forms. And
you got it.
Music, dance, visual arts. It creates this immersive experience.
Right. It engages all your senses.
Yeah.
It's not just about passive observation.
Right.
It's about feeling, participating, being swept away by the story that's unfolding.
That sounds amazing.
It is. So the paper now takes us to a specific region in Rajasthan called Shekhawati.
Shekhawati, okay.
And you can imagine it as an open-air art gallery.
Oh, cool.
It's renowned for its painted havelis, which are these elaborate mansions built by wealthy merchants, and they're covered in these stunning frescoes.
What kind of stuff is depicted in these frescoes?
Everything. Stories, deities, even modern influences like trains and bicycles.
Wow. So you can really see the evolution of society through the art.
You really can, yeah. It's like a window into the past and present.
And the fresco technique itself, that wasn't unique to this area, right?
No. It's remarkably similar to the Italian fresco technique developed around the 14th century.
Oh, wow. It makes you realize that no matter how far apart we are, we're all drawn to that visual storytelling.
We are, right. It's a universal language.
It is.
And in Shekhawati, they really took it to another level.
They really did.
Now, let's shift gears back to the academic side of things for just a moment.
Okay.
The paper presents this really compelling argument for the effectiveness of folk media in rural development.
Yeah.
Especially when compared to modern mass media.
Okay. How does it compare?
So, to illustrate this point, it provides this table comparing folk and modern media.
Okay.
highlighting key advantages like intimacy, immediate feedback, flexibility, affordability, and emotional connection.
So folk media really excels in these areas.
It does, especially in rural communities where personal connection is paramount.
Right.
So let's break down some of these advantages.
Right.
Firstly, there's intimacy.
Okay.
Folk media performances are often held in communal spaces, right?
Yeah.
Like village squares, courtyards, temples.
Right.
This fosters a sense of closeness and shared experience that you just don't get from watching television.
Yeah, exactly. It's not this distant broadcast.
Right.
It's face-to-face.
Yeah, it's a back and forth.
It's engaging.
Exactly. Which leads us to immediate feedback.
Okay.
Folk artists can adjust their performances based on how the audience is reacting.
Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So a joke that falls flat, they can just drop it.
Yeah.
A song that everyone's into, they can extend it.
So they can tailor it to the audience right there.
Exactly. It's a responsive form of communication,
Yeah.
which you just don't get with pre-recorded media.
Right. And I bet that adaptability is crucial, especially when you're talking about sensitive issues.
It is, right? Because it allows the performers to tailor their message to the specific needs of their audience to their understanding.
Right.
So you ensure that the message is received in the way it was intended.
Makes sense.
Then there's flexibility.
Okay.
Folk media can really easily adapt to local contexts and can incorporate new information or themes.
Right. It's not bound to like a rigid format or recording.
Exactly. So it can evolve as the community does.
Yeah, it's a living tradition.
It is.
That constantly changes with the community.
Right.
It's so cool.
And of course, we can't forget affordability.
Right.
Folk media performances rely on readily available resources, local talent,
Yeah.
making them really accessible to even the most remote communities.
There's no barrier to entry then, really.
There isn't. There's no need for fancy equipment or technology.
It's really vital then.
It is, right.
Yeah.
Because it ensures that everyone has a voice, regardless of their socioeconomic status.
Absolutely.
It democratizes the process of communication, empowers communities to tell their own stories.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then finally, there's that powerful emotional connection.
Yeah.
So folk media really taps into the shared cultural values, beliefs, and experiences of a community.
Right. It's not just transmitting information.
Right.
It's about evoking emotions.
Exactly.
Creating empathy, fostering a sense of belonging.
It's that emotional depth that makes folk media so effective in driving social change.
It really does.
It moves beyond logic and reason and really touches people's hearts, inspiring them to action.
That's so powerful.
Now, I know some people might say that folk media is becoming obsolete in the age of technology, but the paper tackles this head on.
Yeah. What does it say about that?
What would you think?
Well, I think different media can coexist, right? Like radio didn't replace newspapers.
Right.
TV didn't replace radio.
Exactly.
They all serve different purposes.
They do, yeah.
And folk media continues to play this vital role, I think, especially in places where access to technology might be limited.
Exactly. It's not about replacing, it's about recognizing that each medium has its own strengths
Exactly.
and its own limitations.
And using those strengths.
Yes, exactly. And in this case, the paper really drives home the point that folk media is uniquely suited for empowering these rural communities.
It makes sense with that participatory nature.
Right.
It's perfect for those bottom-up initiatives.
Yes, it is.
Where the community is really involved.
It allows for that immediate feedback, the adaptation to local contexts, and it encourages that active involvement from the audience.
Right. It's not about imposing a solution. It's about helping them create a solution.
Exactly. It's about facilitating dialogue and empowering communities to create change themselves.
It's a really important takeaway.
It is. It's not just a tool for transmitting information. It's a platform
Right.
for participation, empowerment, and community building.
Amazing.
What an incredible journey we've taken.
Yeah. From these amazing dances and music.
To these academic insights about the power of folk media.
It's really amazing how intertwined those are.
It really is. I love how this paper really blends these academic insights with real-world examples.
Yeah.
It's not just some abstract theory. It's a living, breathing tradition
Yeah.
that's making a difference.
Exactly.
You know, I have to admit, even I'm feeling inspired after this deep dive.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I bet.
I'm reminded of this time I encountered a group of folk musicians
Oh, tell me about it.
while traveling through rural India.
Okay.
So picture this. A small village nestled in the foothills of the Himalayas.
That sounds so beautiful.
It was.
Yeah.
And these musicians were gathered around a bonfire,
Oh, wow.
playing these traditional instruments and singing songs that have been passed down like for generations.
Wow. The energy must have been amazing.
It was so infectious.
Yeah.
And even though I didn't understand the language,
Yeah.
I felt such an incredible sense of connection with everyone there.
I can imagine. That's the magic of folk media.
It really is.
It goes beyond language.
It transcends those barriers and connects us on this deeper human level.
Absolutely. It speaks to something universal.
It does.
Within it.
It was an experience I'll never forget. And it really, for me, it just solidified how important it is to preserve these traditions.
Absolutely.
Not just as museum pieces, but as these living expressions of culture and identity.
Yeah, they're meant to be experienced.
Exactly.
Mm.
That brings me to a final thought-provoking question for our listeners.
All right, lay it on me.
If folk media is so powerful, what role can it play in preserving cultural heritage in the face of globalization?
That is a really great question.
It's something to really ponder as we, move forward in this increasingly interconnected world.
It is. It is.
How can we make sure these traditions thrive and continue to connect us to our roots? How can we support and revitalize these art forms for future generations?
Yeah, so they can experience the magic too.
Exactly. And even closer to home, what folk traditions exist in your own community? How do they reflect its history and values?
That's such a good point.
These are questions worth exploring, because understanding our own cultural heritage is such a powerful way to connect with our past, present, and future.
Absolutely.
It's like holding a thread
Yeah.
that connects us.
Through time?
Exactly. So, dear listeners,
Yeah.
we leave you with those thoughts. Go out there, explore the world of folk media, and discover the magic that awaits.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Absolutely.
It really does show how these traditions can just resonate with anyone, even if they're from a completely different culture.
Right.
It's a reminder that art can connect us on a deeper level.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Music and storytelling, those truly are universal languages.
Yeah, they are.
Now, go back to the paper for a moment.
Okay.
Let's delve a little bit deeper into why Dr. Pareek believes folk media is such an effective tool for social change,
Okay.
especially in rural India.
Right.
So one of the key points that she makes is this challenge of reaching rural populations with important information.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Traditional mass media, even with all the advancements in technology,
Right.
it often struggles to penetrate these communities.
So why is that? Is it access to technology, or are there other factors at play?
Well, I think access is definitely a part of it,
Yeah.
but the paper suggests there's more to it than that.
Okay.
Modern mass media can sometimes feel a bit detached from the lived experiences of rural communities.
Okay.
So the language, the format, the content, it can all feel a bit alienating.
Yeah, like it's coming from a different world.
Exactly, like it's coming from a different world.
Yeah.
And if the message isn't resonating culturally,
Right.
it's unlikely to have that lasting impact.
Regardless of how many people see it.
Exactly, no matter how widely it's broadcast.
Right, because it's not speaking their language.
Exactly. And that's where folk media really shines,
Okay.
because it's born from the heart of these communities. It speaks a language they understand, both literally and metaphorically.
Right.
It uses those familiar stories,
Yeah.
characters, symbolism.
That makes it feel relevant to them.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like using a dialect that everyone in the community speaks.
Yeah. Love that.
Fluently, right?
It really gets to the core of what makes it so effective.
It cuts through the noise,
Yeah.
the clutter of modern media, and connects with people on this visceral, emotional level.
Absolutely.
And, the paper also emphasizes the role of folk media in addressing sensitive or taboo topics. Things that might be really difficult to discuss openly through other channels.
Right.
So it argues that folk media can tackle issues like gender inequality,
Okay.
caste discrimination, even public health crises
Yeah.
in a way that feels less preachy and more organic.
Right. Yeah, because it's coming from within their own culture.
Exactly.
It's not being imposed on them.
It's embedded in the cultural fabric of the community.
Right.
So it approaches these topics with sensitivity and nuance, and it can spark those conversations that might be difficult to initiate otherwise.
It's like it creates this safe space for dialogue.
It does, yeah. It acts like a bridge,
Yeah.
allowing people to confront these difficult truths without feeling attacked or alienated.
That's a great way to put it.
So it paves the way for social change to come from within the community itself.
Yeah.
Now, the paper provides some really interesting examples of how folk media has been used to drive positive change,
Oh, cool. Like what?
both in Rajasthan and other parts of the world.
Okay.
And there's one example that really stood out to me.
Okay.
It talks about how folk theater has been used to raise awareness about HIV/AIDS.
Oh, wow.
They use humor and storytelling to break down stigma
Yeah.
and to encourage these safe practices.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's not just limited to health issues either.
Right.
The paper also mentions how folk songs have been adapted to promote literacy campaigns.
Oh, cool.
They weave in educational messages into these catchy tunes
That are easy to remember.
Yeah. And to share.
So it's like subtly teaching people.
It is. It's incredible, right? How adaptable and versatile folk media can be.
It really is, yeah.
Not stuck in the past.
Right.
It can constantly be reimagined, reinvented.
Stay relevant.
To address contemporary issues and the evolving needs of a community.
It's like a chameleon changing its colors to fit in.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And the paper highlights how this ability to adapt is so crucial for ensuring that folk media remains relevant.
As technology changes.
As technology continues to advance.
Right.
Now, the paper does acknowledge that folk media isn't without its challenges and limitations.
Oh, okay. Like what?
So it's not a perfect solution for every problem.
Right.
The paper recognizes that relying solely on folk media can sometimes limit the reach and the impact of these campaigns.
So how do they address that?
Well, not everyone attends folk performances or listens to traditional music.
Yeah, of course.
And there's also the concern that some folk traditions might unintentionally perpetuate harmful stereotypes or outdated beliefs.
Right, that's something to be aware of.
Yeah, the paper acknowledges that, like any form of cultural expression, folk media can be a double-edged sword.
Of course.
So it's really crucial to critically evaluate those messages that are being conveyed and make sure that they're aligned with the values of inclusivity and progress.
Absolutely. So it's not about blindly embracing every tradition, but being thoughtful about how they're used.
Exactly. It's about using folk media thoughtfully and strategically, understanding its potential, but also its limitations.
I like that. So what's the solution then?
Well, to address these challenges, the paper proposes this really interesting solution.
Okay, what is it?
Integrating folk media with modern communication strategy.
Oh, so combining the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
That's a great idea.
It suggests that combining the intimacy, the emotional resonance of folk media with the reach and accessibility of modern platforms.
Yeah, like radio.
Like radio, television, social media.
Right.
Could create a really powerful force.
A powerful force, yeah.
For social change.
I can see that.
So it's about creating that synergy between the old and the new.
Right.
To amplify the impact of these messages.
So like using folk songs in radio jingles.
Yes.
Or incorporating folk dance into TV programs.
Exactly. Or using social media to document.
Oh, yeah. Share those performances.
And share those performances, reaching a global audience, sparking those conversations online.
The possibilities are really endless.
They are. It's about thinking creatively and strategically about how to bridge the gap between those traditional and modern forms of communication.
Makes sense.
Now, the paper also discusses the role of the government.
Okay.
And non-governmental organizations.
Right.
In supporting these folk media initiatives.
Okay.
So it argues that these institutions have this really crucial role to play in providing funding, resources, and platforms.
To support those artists.
To support folk artists and organizations. They can help organize workshops, festivals.
Okay.
Even create educational programs that integrate folk media into school curriculums.
Wow, that's a great idea.
Right. It ensures that these traditions are passed on to younger generations.
Absolutely. Keeping those traditions alive.
It's recognizing the value of these traditions, right?
Yeah.
And investing in their preservation, their evolution, not just for the sake of art, but for the positive impact they can have on society as a whole.
I love that.
Now, shifting gears a bit, the paper also explores the economic potential of folk media.
Oh, interesting. How so?
So it argues that promoting folk arts and crafts can create livelihood opportunities for these rural artisans and communities.
Oh, wow.
Turning cultural heritage into a sustainable source of income.
That's amazing.
It's a win-win situation, right?
It is.
It preserves traditions,
Yeah.
empowers communities, and boosts the local economy.
It's a ripple effect of positive change.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach to development.
It is.
That recognizes the connection between culture, society, and economics.
I love that.
Now, the paper concludes with a powerful call to action.
Okay.
It urges readers to really actively engage with folk media.
Okay.
Not just as passive consumers, but as participants.
Right.
And advocates.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think it's a wonderful call to action.
Yeah.
You know, it encourages us to attend these performances.
Yeah.
To support local artists, to learn these art forms ourselves.
Yeah.
It's about keeping these traditions alive and passing them on
to future generations.
It's a reminder that folk media is more than just entertainment.
Right, it's vital.
It's a vital part of our cultural heritage.
Yeah.
And a really powerful tool for social change that deserves our attention and support.
It really does.
Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious, what's resonated with you the most from what we've talked about so far? What stands out as a key takeaway?
Honestly, just the recognition that folk media isn't a relic of the past.
Yeah.
It's a living, breathing force that can shape the present and future.
I completely agree. It's a reminder of the importance of connecting with our roots, embracing our cultural heritage, and using it to create that more just and equitable world.
Absolutely. Now let's move on to the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore some broader implications and discuss what this all means for us as individuals and as society.
Yeah, it really does make you think about all the amazing ways these traditions can impact communities
and
individuals.
It does. And, it's been a really fascinating journey exploring this paper with you.
Yeah, it has.
I love how it highlights the real-world impact of these cultural practices.
Me too.
That, people might overlook.
Yeah, exactly.
We often just think of art and entertainment as, separate from serious issues, like social change, but this paper shows us just how intertwined they can be.
It really does, yeah.
It makes you think about the role of art in your life and your community.
It does. And for me, one of the biggest takeaways is how folk media taps into the collective memory.
Yeah.
And the shared experiences of a community.
Absolutely.
It creates this sense of resonance that modern mass media often struggles to replicate.
It does. It's hard.
It's like it speaks directly to the soul of a community.
Yeah.
Using a language that they understand, implicitly.
It speaks a language that people understand, not just intellectually, but emotionally, culturally.
Yes, exactly.
It's those stories and symbols and the metaphors, they resonate.
Yeah. Deep within their hearts and minds.
And, it's like unlocking a secret code.
Yeah.
That kind of bypasses the filters of skepticism or indifference that we, develop towards those more conventional forms of communication.
Yeah, there's just an authenticity to it that you don't get from other media.
Right. There's an authenticity
yes.
to folk media that's hard to resist.
I love that. It's about tapping into that pre-existing understanding and shared values.
And it makes the message feel more authentic and persuasive, right?
Yes. And that deep cultural connection.
Yeah.
Makes folk media great for sensitive topics.
Yes. And, I was struck by how the paper emphasized this point.
Yeah.
It argued that folk media can approach these issues with a nuance and sensitivity that other channels just can't.
It can't. It's hard.
It can use humor, satire, allegorical storytelling.
To start those conversations.
Yes, and challenge those deep-seated beliefs. It's like the spoonful of sugar.
Yeah.
That helps the medicine go down.
Exactly. So, by packaging these messages in familiar and engaging forms, it makes them, more palatable, less threatening.
It does.
And it opens up that space for dialogue.
And understanding.
Exactly. Yeah. And ultimately, change. Right.
Yes.
But the paper's also very balanced.
Okay.
It acknowledges that folk media isn't this magic bullet.
Right.
It recognizes that these traditions can sometimes perpetuate harmful stereotypes.
Right.
Or outdated beliefs.
So you have to be critical of those messages.
Yes, we have to be critical and make sure they align with our values.
Right. Inclusivity and progress.
Exactly. So it's about using folk media thoughtfully, responsibly.
Yeah.
And that's a key takeaway for me.
Absolutely.
That critical engagement is so important.
With any form of communication.
With any form of communication, whether it's traditional or modern, right?
Absolutely.
And the paper stresses how important it is to adapt these traditions.
Yeah.
To meet the needs of our changing world.
It's not about being stuck in the past.
Right.
But using these traditions to move forward.
Yeah. It talks about how folk media can be such a powerful tool. For education. Health promotion.
Economic development.
Even economic development.
It's evolving along with the communities it serves.
Exactly. And it's about finding those ways to integrate folk media with those modern communication strategies.
Like using technology.
Yeah. Amplify its reach, its impact, but still preserving that essence.
Yeah, that authenticity.
Imagine, using folk songs in public service announcements,
Yeah.
incorporating folk dance into educational programs,
Oh, I love
creating digital platforms
to showcase it to the world.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless, right?
They are. You just have to be creative.
It's about thinking creatively.
Yeah.
And strategically.
And it really highlights that cultural heritage isn't static.
Right.
It's a dynamic force that shapes us.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive
into
the world of Rajasthani folk media.
It's been such a great journey.
It has. I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
Okay, what's that?
Go out there and explore the world of folk media.
Yeah.
In your own community.
Yeah, attend a performance.
Visit a museum.
Talk to your elders.
Learn a traditional art form.
It's an invitation to connect with your roots.
To see the world through a different lens.
I love that.
Because folk media isn't just something we study or admire, right?
Right.
It needs our participation.
Our support.
And support to thrive.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that culture isn't a spectator sport.
It's not.
It's a participatory experience.
It connects us to something larger than ourselves.
It does.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the spirit of folk media alive.
Absolutely.